with Bass, Bourbon, and Bucks podcast. Welcome. Jump in the conversation. Tonight we're going to talk about the Okeechobee trip and how that went when we went to Florida. And just, I think it'll be interesting. Some of the things that we did, some of the things that happened, and some of it's funny. Some of it ain't real funny, but it was a good trip. We headed off down there last Wednesday morning, drove down and got down there. It took us about 12 hours after the bathroom stops and stopping to eat. We got down there and we had got a guide, and I was with a friend of mine, Eddie, the grumpy fisherman, and we were down there with the wives. And on the way down, we just decided to touch base with the guide that he had set up 2 months ago, back in January, to catch some peacock bass. And he got him on the line, and all of a sudden he started talking about the peacock bass and started talking about the cold front that had hit South Florida this year, which I do remember that happening. It got way down below freezing down there, way down south, and it dropped the water temperature down below 60 degrees. And below 60 degrees, a lot of those tropical fish are they're not native to Florida, will die. They can't live in water under 60 degrees. It's just tough on them. I think their water temperatures got down in the 40s. I mean, it got really, really cold, and a lot of them live in shallow water. Well, we didn't know, but anyway, he's telling us, all of a sudden, here we are, almost there when we're talking to him, and he wants to tell us that all the peacock bass were killed, and there wasn't any peacock bass to be caught. There's a few that might have survived that were able to get in deeper water and survive that cold front. It killed a lot of tilapia and other fish that are down there that are not native to the Florida, but they got in there somehow, and that's how they got started. But there were just thousands of tilapia, they said, floating dead out there in the lakes and in the canals and stuff. And he said that we would have to probably fish for something else, which actually, kind of disturbed us that we just found out about it since the cold front had hit way back when. And, he could have made a phone call. We felt like he could have made a phone call and warned us about that and let us know that, they were not going to be there for us. So we talked to him that afternoon, and we finally decided. He said, well, we can catch some other fish. And there was one that was called a clownfish. It was clownfish something. I don't remember the second name of it, but it was a wicked looking fish. It was almost shaped like maybe a striper. It was long and skinny, but they were huge. And it had like 4 or 5 black dots down its side, and the tail was almost like a bowfin. The tail on the back end of it like a bowfin. It was really aerodynamic fish, but they were huge. He said we could catch some of those, and then we might possibly catch a peacock bass or two. He wasn't going to guarantee it, but we could possibly catch them, fish them with live bait, which we didn't want to fish with live bait. We wanted to fish with artificial bait and catch one on artificial bait, but that wasn't in the cards either. So we set him up for the next morning. And, of course, we got down there. We were wore out, beat down. We got in the bed, and, he had to give us directions to a boat ramp to meet him at. And we weren't, I think we were going to the Everglades and catch those peacock bass, but he changed it up on us and said, hey, there's a lake down here that's got them in it too. And, I got those other fish in it too. I think it'd be a better fit for us. We'd catch fish in it. Just meet me at the boat ramp in the morning at, I think he wanted to meet about 7:00 in the morning. So we got up at like 4 or something because it was an hour and a half drive to that boat ramp for us. So we got ready. We were excited about going, and we got on the road. And we were 10 minutes before we got to the boat ramp. Eddie just decided, hey, I'm going to check his website right quick, and just for the heck of it, just check his website. And he checked his website, and there was a message on his website to Eddie canceling the trip. That morning, it was 4:45 in the morning. And he didn't bother to text us. He didn't bother to call us. So, to say the least, we were pissed. It
Yeah.
made me so mad. We were both mad. I mean, it was just not a good time. We had a lot of sleep. We were tired. We done drove all that way up there. Disappointed because that was what the trip was all about, was going to catch peacock bass. It was a bucket list thing. I mean, we were going to go down there and do some bass fishing too, but that was first on the agenda. So we turned around and went back, and got back and decided we were just going to drop the boat in the canal. There's a canal that runs around uh, Lake Okeechobee, and it's called Rim Canal, and it it's loaded with fish. I mean, it's got a lot of bass in it.
Do you
So we
think? Do you think the guy? Do you think the guy was jerking you around the whole time?
Uh, I
Did
don't know.
that?
He sounded like he was hee hawing around to start with. When we first talked to him again before that, he was kind of like he was crawfishing or something. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
hey, it's good to see you on here, buddy. I appreciate you joining us. Yeah, I think he was almost like he was trying to back out in a diplomatic way, but he just didn't have the balls to say it. I
Yeah.
guess he just didn't. He wouldn't say it, but anyway, it struck us wrong anyway. And I don't even know what kind of. I needed to go in there. I didn't do it, but I think he's going to get a scathing review on his page. I don't know. I mean, it's good. I mean, to leave us hanging like that.
Yeah.
So we just went out there. We dumped the boat into that canal, and that was a tricky place to get in, And I mean, the boat ramp ran out about 6 foot before the trailer did, so we had to drop off the boat ramp to get the boat in. It was standing straight up behind the truck because the canal just drops off deep. And we were able to get it in there and drop it in and start fishing. So we started fishing, and we had no idea. I mean, we haven't fished Florida, so we don't know how those fish bite, how they react, what we need to be fishing with. So we just kind of struck out blind, and there was a lot of lily pads and a lot of eelgrass and some other stuff out there growing on the edges, um, along with those long, slender alligators um, laying in them. But we got out there and started throwing some baits around, and it took a few minutes before we could figure it out. But we didn't get in the water till like 10 o'clock that morning. I mean, the time we got back. Hey, Priscilla, good to see you on here. We just, went out there blind. So we started throwing the baits we used to throw, and we started throwing. I think we were throwing a jerk bait and some other stuff, and throwing some worms around those pads, up close to those pads, and I was throwing I couldn't help myself. I thought, well, if this bottom's clear, I'm gonna throw a Carolina rig. So I did. I threw one. I was in the back of the boat, and I threw one out of the back of the boat and was dragging it down the pally, the pads, down the edge of those pads, and hooked up on one and caught it. I caught a couple of fish on that Carolina rig, and then I laid it down and we started fishing some other stuff. And I was fishing with a trick worm, and we fished with several things. And Eddie boated a few fish too on jerk bait, and we caught a couple more. I changed off to a jerk bait. Well, we got out there, and I mean, immediately we started seeing gators. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, they're like pets out there. There's so many of them. I mean, it's kind of insane. I mean, it's unnerving, really, actually, because these weren't baby gators. They were 10-foot gators. They were big gators, and they're not scared of you. I mean, we were rolling down through there, and of course, I'm in the back of the boat, and we're right up against the pad line, and just kind of rolling down the pad line. And Eddie's fishing the pad line in the front, and I'm fishing the pad line in the back. That's where those fish were congregating, was under those pads, and they were coming out and grabbing your bait. And you could hear those gators grunting at you as you went by. I mean, they'd be laying up. You couldn't see them because it's so thick in there. You couldn't see them.
How wide's the canal?
It's 100 yards wide. Some places it's wider than that. It's
So it's
pretty
pretty
wide.
decent size then.
Oh yeah, it's decent. I mean, it's deep. Out in the middle, it's 20 foot deep. I mean, it's deep, and it maintains its depth all the time. It never loses, it might pick up a little bit when it rains, but for the most part, it stays the same all the time. It's not affected like the lakes are. The canal is what the canal is, and it stays that way. I mean, they dredge that out, and it's just nice. I mean, it's like fishing a lake, really. I mean, it's wide and it's just long, and but every time those gators get to grunting at me, I'm in the back of the boat. I'm like, Eddie's got the nose of the boat. I'm like, hey, you didn't move the damn boat.
Yeah.
These gators are close. And I mean, we done seen some pretty big ones. So, we were watching them because, they were all around us. I mean, every once in a while you look over there and there'd be one laying out there in the water right in front of you, and they'd be laying up on the bank and they'd swim off the bank out in front of the boat. And they're just, there were some gators in there. We probably saw in the canal, I would say we probably saw 20 gators in the canal, just the area canal we were fishing in. We probably saw 20 gators. That's not a lot of gators. I didn't realize that. I thought it was a lot of gators, but it really wasn't a lot of gators. And we'll get to that. But we fished all up and down that thing. We caught some good fish. I think some of the bigger fish we caught were 3.5, 4 pounds. I mean, those Florida strain bass, and they fight like a spotted bass here. They ain't like our largemouth. They don't have a give up in them. They fight you all the way back to the boat and in the boat. It's just really weird because here if you catch a largemouth, you got about 30 seconds of fighting, and he just rolls over you, drag him in the boat. A largemouth, dude, spots ain't they fight hard, but those largemouths are way stronger than the largemouth here we have. Of course, we don't have the F1 strain largemouth here, which I think they've been begging people, just begging the DNR to stock them in the state here, put them in the lakes here. I wish they would, because I'm telling you right now, they are hardy fish. I mean, they are strong swimmers, and they don't mind biting in shallow water. I mean, they'll bite in no water. I mean, less than a foot. They'll bite. I mean, it's crazy. But we had some fun. We caught a lot of stuff. I mean, we caught a lot of different stuff, and found out they got a lot of gar in there. We caught several gar while we were bass fishing, and they're not afraid to hit anything. I mean, I was fishing with a chatterbait and catching bass on chatterbait when I could keep the gar off of it. Gar would hit it and grab it and take off with it, and they'd just run off with it, and you drag them into the boat, and they just had their mouth clamped down on it. You wouldn't even have the hook in their mouth. Just shake them and make them come off. And then we caught a couple that got the hook in their mouth. Of course, we took some pictures. We let them go. We were careful about getting them in the boat. Just grab them by the body and then pull them up in the boat, get the pliers, get it out. Because, I mean, they got a mouthful of teeth. And we caught several.
They like a leg.
Like a what?
A leg.
They like legs and fingers and arms. I wasn't going to get one close enough to get bit. You don't want to let him flop around the boat. End up losing a toe.
Yeah.
Those things are thick in there. We caught several gar, and there's some tilapia. It didn't kill all the tilapia. I was kind of shocked at how big those tilapia are. You can't even imagine. I mean, the water it had a brackish color to it, but it was clear, which was weird. I mean, the water was dark, but it was clear, and you could see the beds on the bank, and some of them would be 4 or 5 foot around. I mean, huge beds, and those tilapia would be laying on those beds. And I figured out what was going on with the gar. Those gar were pulling off those beds out there where they were bedding at, and they were staging out there waiting to get those fry and those eggs. Those gar were coming in there and getting them. And that's why we were catching the gar, because every time you come through there, there'd be a bunch of beds. We figured it out. Those gar would just tear your lure up when you brought one down there. Eddie caught a couple on a jerk bait, and I mean, they get them hooks in their mouth. And I videoed him. He brought one in. He caught the first one actually on a jerk bait and missed several. Of course, we were fishing with frogs too. We had a lot of blow ups on frogs. That's a hard hookup. I don't really know how to explain it. I'm not real sure that some of those blow ups we were having weren't gar, and they just weren't getting in their mouth. And sometimes they'd take it and go with it, and they'd go out, and the frog would leave the top of the water and be gone, and you set the hook, and you wouldn't connect. It was the weirdest thing. And we was aggravating, really, because I know some of them were bass, but we did catch some bass on the frogs. But we had a ton of blow ups. We probably had more blow ups than we caught fish. We probably caught in that canal, I would say we probably caught 25 bass in that canal. And we did that, fished all day in that canal until about dark. And we come out, took the boat out, and brought it back up there and plugged it up, charged it. It was on trolling motor, because that canal they've got locks on that canal that you can go into the lake from that canal. But the water was so low on the lake that the locks were basically closed because they couldn't pull enough water up in there to get you up in the lake. So we didn't make an attempt at it to go up in the lake from the lock. And they're all down through there, probably a mile apart. There'd be a lock to go up in the lake, and that's how most people get in that lake from those canals. They'll get in the canal and they'll go up in there, get locked into that lock, and it'll take them right into the lake. But the water's down. They pulled the lake down. They took it down on purpose to try to get the grass started back in there. I understand it's really a strange thing because I think the government went in there and sprayed that grass and killed it. And I guess after all the people got pissed and started, going to the meetings and stirring up trouble, they decided that they need to get the grass back in there. I mean, the grass is what keeps the lake alive. I mean, other than that, there's nothing in there. I mean, it's so shallow. There's nothing in that lake. You got some shell beds in there, but as far as bass cover, it's got to be cattails, pin grass. They got another one, eelgrass in there. They got pads in there. They got all kinds of stuff in that lake. But they pulled it down. As a matter of fact, they were going to pull it down another foot because where we were at in the lake, which is a story for later. But when we got in the lake, we were fishing in about 1.5 feet of water. All that'll be dry when they get the lake down where they want it. It won't be no water there at all. And there wasn't very much water there to start with. So I just thought it awful strange that they pull that lake down that far. But and that's the largest lake in the United States.
I didn't know that at all.
It is 35 miles wide.
It ain't man-made either.
So it's the largest lake in the United States, and because I think is it Lake Superior? I think isn't that the one up north that some of it's part of it's in Canada?
One of the Great Lakes, yeah.
They don't count that one because they can only count the part that's in the United States as far as having the largest lake, or that would be the largest lake. But since they don't count the part that's in Canada, now Lake Okeechobee is the largest lake in the United States. It's 35 miles wide, 30 miles long, but it's mostly a big bowl. I mean, it's huge. It's a huge lake, man. I tell you, I ain't never seen anything like it. I mean, it's kind of, it blows your mind. And the Kissimmee River drops off into it. That Kissimmee River is what feeds it. One of the rivers that feed it. I'm sure there's another river on there, and maybe some creeks that feed it. I didn't look on the map to see, but I know there is. But the Kissimmee River is the biggest river that feeds that lake, and I think that they say the deepest part of that lake is 12 foot. I find that hard to believe, but that's what they say. I don't think there's 12 foot in it anywhere now.
The deepest part's 12 feet.
Yes, that's the deepest part.
That's crazy.
Hey, Alan, good to see you on there, Alan.
That's crazy how here when we're fishing, when it's hot weather, I mean, we got to go deep to get fish, 20, 25, 30 foot of water, but I mean, if they're living constantly in 1 foot to possibly 12 foot of water year round, and it gets hot as hell down there. I mean, like,
yes,
that's crazy to think of it like that, how much different it is.
That is different. I know. I brought that up while we were down there too, and talking about that grass puts a lot of oxygen in that lake, and also the wind generates oxygen for that lake too, and it
makes a little bit of current, and keeps it away.
It doesn't ever get stale, and that's the reason the lake stays oxygenated in the hot weather, which blows my mind to start with. But there's a lot of grass in that lake. I mean, there is. I mean, it's a huge lake, but there is a lot of grass in that lake. But there's a lot of the lake that don't have grass in it too. Yeah, I'd say there's probably more lake that don't have grass in it. But getting to the story about the lake,
y'all went out on the lake after the fact. Y'all went on another trip, right?
Yeah, we were quite upset that we didn't get to go catch any peacock bass after the guy informed us that the cold weather had killed them and that most of them were gone, which I believe that because I know it did get bad cold down there. And I did read that they can't survive because I went straight and Googled it, man. I'm like, I got to find out. And they said, yeah, it killed a bunch of them. It killed a lot of them. If any of them survived, it wasn't but a few. But we decided we knew we were going to go to the lake, and we'd never been on the lake. And of course, we'd already heard some horror stories about the lake, that it wasn't your typical lake. And you just didn't want to go out there and just dump a boat in and take off if you didn't know where you were going or what you were going to be doing, because it was dangerous. And mainly because it don't have no water in it. So that was one of the big deals. And also, if the wind kicks up to 25 miles an hour or more, you end up with 5-foot swells, and it's like the ocean. So we got a guide to take us out for a half-a-day trip, and he took us out for an afternoon trip. We went out that afternoon. We just put the boat back in the water the next morning and started fishing the canal again until it was time to go fishing on the lake. And we fished about a half a day on the canal, caught some more bass, had a good time, put the boat back on the trailer, pulled it back out with plans to take it to the lake the day after that day. So we met this guide at 2:30 in the afternoon on the lake, and he had a 20-foot nitro, and I'm pretty sure he had a 250 on it. It might have been a 200, but I never really looked at the horsepower, but it could have been a 200. But he didn't have anything. He had a couple of seats in the boat. They were not the boat seats. They were just like those millennial seats, that I've got some of those for the crappy fishing system. They're really comfortable seats. He had 2 of those in there, and just everything. The boat was clean, like the deck. There wasn't nothing on the deck. All the rods were put in, where you had room to fish in there. And he had a net in there, and that was it. So we got in there with him, and we got acquainted before we got out of the way from the dock. And he said, "Yeah, we're going to go in there." He said, "The bite was a little bit slow this morning," because he had took a trip out that morning. And he said the bite was a little bit slow. He said I think we ended up with 8 or 9 fish. He said, but it should pick up this afternoon. The afternoon bite. And I believe that, because the afternoon bite in that canal was good too. When it started getting later in the afternoon, we started catching a fire out of fish. I mean, we were catching good in that canal. And so we struck out in the Kissimmee River to get to the lake. And it was probably, I want to say, maybe not 3/4 of a mile to the lake up the river. I knew there was a lot of gators in there after we got in that river, because we counted 25 gators before we got to the lake. And that's just the ones we saw. And they were grown gators. They were like everywhere. So I'm like punching Eddie. I'm like, look over there, look over there, look over there. He's like, oh God, they're over there. And he's pointing over here. We're pointing every direction. We're pointing, and there's a gator laying there. So I'm thinking, God, man, there's a lot of gators in here. I thought we saw a lot of gators in that canal, but that wasn't so. So when we broke into the lake out of that river, when we hit them last poles out of that river to go out into the lake, you look out across that lake, and it looked like the ocean. You could not see any land anywhere in sight. Like you just dumped off into the ocean. And I mean, I'm talking about left, right, or forward. You couldn't see no bank. There was no shore, just water. And it was slick as glass. Matter of fact, it looked mirrored. But when we went out through there, we didn't even get on boat on plane good. And I looked up, and there was gators laying to the left, to the right, out in front of us, like logs. There was, I bet, I mean, when we first sat down and started running, I bet I seen 25 before we got 100 yards. Oh, God. So I thought, well, maybe it's just a fluke. It's right here, not too far out of the river. That's probably why they're all here. The further we went, the more gators we saw.
That ended my trip.
But we saw them. I mean, they were thick. I mean, they were
Do
little.
do they hunt them? Do they control them down there? Do you know that?
They give them a permit, and you can take 2 gators per person a year when they give you a permit.
And it's probably like a lottery draw thing, like all the gator hunts are anyway.
I don't know. I guess they have to pay for that tag too for that gators.
Yeah.
But I could see from what I saw that they ain't hurt them. They ain't hurt the population. I don't know how many they're taking, but they ain't getting enough to hurt them. Because they're just and when I'm telling you the area we saw, we probably ran, I don't know, 10 miles down the lake. and circled an island of grass. We had to circle this island of grass. I found out why we had to circle that island of grass after we got set down. But the guy was telling us that, he was trying to tell us because he knew we were coming back to the lake the next day. And he wanted to try to tell us where we had to run and where we had to sit down at. He said, because you got to set your boat down here or you're going to be on the ground. Well, I didn't think anything about it. I was sitting on the far left and Eddie was sitting in the middle so he could see his graph and he knew how deep it was. I didn't know how deep it was until we got stopped. But when the boat finally came off plane, we were probably 2 miles from any grass. And I thought, well, where are we going to fish at? He said, we're going to fish over there in the grass. So he set the boat down. And when he set the boat down, I just looked over. I turned my head over and I looked at the graph and it was less than 2 feet. I'm like, yeah, ain't no water here. How are we going to fish in here? And you look down and the grass is some eel grass or something growing up. And it's just about to come out of the top of the water. I mean, it's thick. It's like carpet. You can see it. And I thought, catch no bass, not stuff. So we got on the trolling motor and we started working our way towards that grass. And I said, how do you find the fish in here? I mean, you got no points. You got no drop offs. You got nothing out here but grass and no water. He said, oh, they're here. They're in that grass. So I'm like, okay. You say so. So it took us about, I want to say it took us 25 or 30 minutes on the trolling motor to make it to the grass where the cattails were sticking up out of the water. Because the grass I'm talking about, this grass here is 5-6 foot tall in the water. It's in patches. Like there'll be a, patch that's 40 or 50 yards wide sitting out there by itself. And then there'll be over here, be another patch that's 25 or 30 yards wide. And then there'd be another patch that's 10 or 15 yards wide. And that's what they fish. Hey, Tyler, good to see you on here. But we pulled up in that grass. And I mean, like I said, I looked over at the graph again. And it said 0.8. So we were in less than a foot of water.
Were you tapping the guy on the shoulder and be like, hey, dude, there ain't no water here.
There's no water in here. I was like, there's no water. He said, all the fish are in there. So I was kind of skeptical. I guess you'd say skeptical. So we tied on a Kitech swim bait, about a 5-inch swim bait, He said, that's what we're going to fish with. I said, okay. And it had a weighted hook on it. So we got them tied on, and the first throw I made, I had one slam it and get off. I'm like, well, look at here. Yeah, maybe he wasn't lying, maybe we are fishing here. And then Eddie threw out there the next cast, and he hooked one, brought it in. I'm like, well, here we go. So we didn't catch anything again for probably 25 or 30 minutes. I thought, oh, well, it must have been a fluke, He said, we just got to get on the right grass patch. I'm thinking, well, they all look the same. I mean, I don't see anything any different. There's not any more water in there. I mean, what are we going to get? Another point of water?
Yeah.
I mean, because we stayed in less than 2 feet of water the whole time. Less than 2 feet of water.
That's so crazy.
It was crazy because we fished in there and we finally got on a grass pad that had some fish in it. And Eddie was in the front of the boat, and the front of the boat was pointing towards the tip of that grass. And I figured out what was going on pretty quick, that the fish were holding on the point of that grass. They weren't on the outside edges of it. They were on where it pointed out. And it was like a clump and it like a point. And those fish were sitting right in front of that point. Eddie threw over there and caught 4 fish. Bam, 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 like 4 casts, largemouth, right off that point of the grass and slammed them. I caught a couple more off the side, but he was doing some damage. He was catching them one right after the other. I'm like, good Lord, what in the world's going on? I couldn't believe it. And these fish are like 3-4 pounders, and they fight. And I had a couple, we lost fish. I mean, those fish, when you get them on, they get in that grass and you can't hardly pull them out of there, and they're just digging. And they fight harder than any bass I've ever had on before. So them Florida bass are tough, man. I'm just gonna tell you, and they're almost black. They're dark. They're not light colored like our fish are. They're dark as they can be. And so we caught a bunch of fish, and we just kept catching fish. And we'd pull up to another grass pad and pick it apart and catch a few fish. And that's what we kept doing. And we did it and did it and did it. And we caught a lot of fish. And I'm like, we're getting our money's worth. This is good. And I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't saying that to Eddie, but I know what he was thinking. he was thinking he was dreading putting his boat in there because it was dangerous. But we really didn't know how dangerous it was till later on. We sat out there and fished, and I took some pretty pictures of the sun going down, and it was just perfect. And I thought, man, this is nice. And I kept thinking, we got our 4 hours in, half a day, we got our half a day in. I figured he's fixing to pull it up. Let's go. Nah, sun went on down, got up the sight. It was getting dark. I thought, man, he's going to go in a minute. He said, hey, we're going to go over and hit this other brush over the grass pile over here. We're going to fish out over there. And I'm like, okay, well, dang, we just ran 10 miles down this lake. We got to go back to the dark. And he was in a 20-foot boat. I'm thinking, hey, we got to go back. And the wind started picking up a little bit. Well, the wind blowing 10 or 15 miles an hour. Not real bad, And we just kept fishing. Well, I done got to the point where I'm ready to go. Because, it's getting dark. And I'm like, I'm ready to go. Well, the guy, he'd been fishing there for years. And like I said, there was no water. And I knew we had to idle out on a trolling motor because you couldn't drop the big motor. It hit the bottom. So we had to go out on a trolling motor. And he kept fishing. Finally, it got dark. Okay, it was dark. Stars were out, moon. It was beautiful, I thought, well, we're going to go. He said, yeah, we're going to start heading on out of here. And the wind's getting up pretty good. So the wind did get up. It got up to probably 35 miles an hour. And it was white capping. we were going out on a trolling motor. And I'll tell you how bad it was. It was so bad that we were on a trolling motor. And I was in the passenger seat on the left-hand side. And I was getting soaked from breakers hitting the boat, coming in on the side of the boat. I was soaking wet. And it was hitting the guy driving the boat like that too. They were just coming over the boat and just about to come over the nose of the boat because they were getting bigger and bigger and the wind got more and more, stronger and stronger. I'm thinking, God, this is going to be bad. So we trolled out of there, taking on water, splashing back on us, getting us soaking wet. I thought, God, get the boat up on plane, man. This thing's killing me. But we couldn't get the boat on plane because we didn't have but probably 1.5 foot of water. You got to have about 3 foot of water to get the boat to come up on plane. But that's the least you can do to get the boat up on plane. He had a jack plate, and he could have jack plated it up and got us up on top of the plane in 3 foot of water. But we had to find that 3 foot of water, and we weren't finding it. And he advised us that, okay, the boat won't come up unless it's in 3 foot of water, and as the wind blows, it forces the water out of the lake because the lake's flat and it's shallow. So when the wind blows, it makes it shallower. And I'm thinking, we can't lose no water. We ain't got no water now. I'm getting nervous. And of course, we were just talking, and we were still on trolling motor. We was on trolling motor for quite some time, just trying to get some water deep enough to get the boat up. It went longer than 30 minutes trying to get the boat deep enough water. And he was telling us about those gators. And I had noticed that when we were fishing, he didn't want us reaching down grabbing those fish. And I didn't really think about it, but we got talking about gators. We had to talk about something because we wasn't going very fast and we had a while to get out of there. So he said, yeah, they don't talk about it down here. And I said, talk about what? He said, these gators. He said, there's people down here all the time lose fingers, hands, arms, and legs to these gators down here. He said, the only reason you don't hear about it is because they don't know nobody die. But it happens frequently down here. People get bit by these gators and they grab them by the arm. You reach over to pick a bass by the water and he's laying in that grass and he decides he'll come and get that bass. He'd get you. If your arm's in the way, he's taking it too. So I'm thinking, yeah. I'm glad
he's telling you this. He's telling you this story as the boat's about to dump y'all's asses out under the water. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's like,
that's correct. He's telling us about the gators and I'm thinking about, okay, we're taking on a little water here, and the water's getting rougher and rougher and rougher. And by the time we finally broke to the edge, got not quite 3 feet of water, he said, well, I'm going to have to try to get the boat up on plane.
Yeah, let's do
I'm
that.
thinking to myself, well, you know what? If we go down out here, we're going to gator bait. We're going to be gator bait. It looks like we lost Brown there. I don't know what happened. I guess he dropped off the screen. But we'll try to get him back on here in a second. But yeah, it got bad. It absolutely got bad. And we just finally got the boat up on plane, a little bit up on plane, and the boat was standing straight up in the water. And we had waves at like 5 foot swells. And it was so bad. It was so bad that I'm thinking, oh, Lord. I don't know how we're going to make that 10 mile run back in there. I don't know how we're going to make that 10-mile run across this lake because the water was, we got you back on there.
Yeah.
The water was white capping. And I mean, it was rolling. I mean, the nose of the boat was up. He couldn't really, he was doing that throttle down, up, ride one up, drop, boom. I mean, the boat would just drop. We'd go up one way, 5 foot, then slam back down to the, I mean, that's how we rode. And we rode that way all the way back. Well, this guy had a pretty good sense of humor. I mean, the whole time we're going, my butt's got a hold of that seat. And I'm thinking, oh, down, we're going to get eaten by a gator. And it's dark out here. You can't see nothing. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about this one, but when we got ready to leave, he reached in his box and got his light pole out for his boat, you know, and he stuck that light pole in. Well, I noticed right off the bat there wasn't no light on it, but Eddie goes, hey, that thing ain't got no light on it. He said, yeah, I know. And I'm thinking, yeah, you know. Why? He got a light on it. He had no light on the back of that boat. He had no light on the front of that boat. There was no way anybody could see us. It was dark. I'm thinking somebody's going to run over us, okay? Somebody is going to run over us. So we're going down through there making that 10-mile ride back to the flipping dock, and I'm praying the whole time we don't die here on the lake, you know, and because it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, it was bad enough. I don't usually get scared in the boat, rough water, but it was like I've been in the flats and, you know, have 4 foot, you know, 4 foot waves, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, I know you have. You've been out there when it was rough on the water.
Yeah.
And this guy over here, all of a sudden, he starts singing the Gilligan's Island song, and I'm like, what in the world is this guy doing this for? I guess he probably knew we were nervous, you know, because it was a bad ride. So I didn't know at the time because, like I said, I couldn't see the graph where I was sitting at. But when we finally, after, God, I don't know how long it took us, I'm going to say better part of an hour and 30, 40 minutes to get back to the dock. And it took us 25 minutes to run up there. We went in there to start with. That's all it took us back. You can't see nothing out there. And we're looking for 2 poles, the green light and the red light, which I never saw until we got probably 100 yards from it because all I could see was water. And the boat was going up in the air so bad. I was sitting in the seat and I could see the stars and the moon. That's how we were riding. I was looking straight up. When I looked down, all I seen was waves coming at us. I mean, it was just, but we finally pulled back in there and got the boat tied off. And I looked at him, you know, it's time to settle up with him, you know. I gave him my half and Eddie gave him his half, and I gave him a tip. I told him, hey, this is for getting us back alive.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
It wasn't because we were catching fish. It was to get us back alive because I'm telling you right now, that was bad. Okay.
Golly, man,
we pulled into that river, and there was 40 boats out there with lights all over them. I was like, what in the world are they doing? They were crappie fishing. And I'm talking about these guys had setups like you ain't never seen before. They had pontoon boats with generators running. They had lights coming off of all sides of it. It looked like an alien spaceship. And
dang.
everybody out there sitting in that thing catching those crappie. But we rolled back in there, no lights on the boat. Like I said, no lights on the boat. We pulled back up to the dock. I'm like, good Lord, you know. And he said, well, I hope y'all had a good time. I said, boy, I had a good time. I said, I just want to get off and get on this dock.
Yeah.
He knew we were scared. But when he started singing that Gilligan's Island song while we were going down the lake, I'm like, yeah. This guy got a sense of humor.
Yeah, at least he had a personality, you know. You know, he might have been him and the peacock bass guy, they might have been buddies. That peacock bass guy might have put him.
You know what? He knew that guy because we asked him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that peacock bass guy was like, you know, I tried to shake these guys from Georgia, but they just wouldn't go back home. So I want you to take them. I want you to take them on a little trip. That's what he did. He got your ass.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, it didn't take but one trip in there on that lake. Those bad waves and stuff. We made an executive decision. We did not put the bass boat in the lake the next day. It went back in the canal again.
Good idea.
I mean, we were catching fish in the canal too, so it didn't make much difference to us because we just wanted to catch fish, and those were the same fish that was in the lake. They were just in the canal, and it was a whole lot easier. I mean, we had to dodge one rainstorm, one thunderstorm, but you could fly down that thing. It was just water was calm in there, even when the wind was blowing. It just had a little light chop on it, and we were running 60, 67, 68 miles an hour down the middle of that canal. I think we saw maybe 2 or 3 bass boats the whole time we were in there. But yeah, it was a good time. It was disappointing what happened with that guy, but it just goes to show you, man, you gotta double check these guys. You don't
Yep.
never know what you're gonna get. You know, it's a pig in the poke, man. You don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what you're paying for. And I had a bad feeling that guy was trying to step out on us the first conversation we had with him when he started talking about how all the fish had died, and I can't guarantee you're going to catch any peacock bass. And I'm like, yeah, God, don't you think that would have been a useful piece of information to have a month ago?
Yeah, that's something I would have liked to have known,
Yeah, after we drove 12 hours down here.
Yeah.
Come on, man, that's no way to do people.
He should have told y'all beforehand. And that's one reason we did a couple of guided fishing trips and guided hunting trips and things like that, but we had never really done that a whole lot. And I think part of it because it costs a lot of money. I mean, to go on, especially like a hunting trip or something, it can cost you several $1,000s to go up there and have a time like you had. Let's say you paid $4,000 or $5,000 to go deer hunt, and it was just crappy. It just wasn't any good. It's going to make you mad because there really ain't nothing you can do about it. But I think that's why I don't really do it a lot, is because too many times you're going to run into those situations where, like, if you're fishing, you got this guy, I think he jerks you around. That's what I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Maybe his truck did break down or something happened, but I think for the most part, he probably jerked you around a little bit, maybe felt bad and didn't know kind of how to tell you. That's possible too. But,
yeah, I mean, I understand if the peacock bass were dead and you couldn't put us on one, I understand that. And if I would have felt a whole lot better about it if he would just said it. Just come out and said, man, I don't feel comfortable taking your money and taking y'all out there with the hopes of catching one of those, and we're going to be catching trash fish. He said we might catch some bass too, because the bass hit that live bait. I guess he was going to fish with shiners. That's what he said. First off, we had told him we wanted to fish water, fish, or bait to start with right out of the gate because we didn't want to fish with live bait. I mean, it just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I can respect somebody a whole lot more if you just shoot me straight from the get-go and tell me it's going to suck either way if it's bad news, but at least you didn't lead me on or whatever, and then at the last minute be like, oh yeah, by the way, this ain't going to work. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we've been on some trips with old 3-Shot over here. He took us on some pretty good trips in the flats, back in the day, and they turned out well. I mean, every now and then you hit it right. I mean, me and old Grumpy Fisherman went on one with somebody. I forget where we were at now. We went on one and we paid him, and I don't remember how much it was. It was a couple $100 a piece. I don't know what it was for a half a day. Oh, I know what it was. We were in Florida, and we were going to go down there and go red fishing and trout fishing. And we were really in a part of Florida that really wasn't real conducive for it, but they had some down there, and you could catch them. And this guy's website looked great. I mean, it looked great, and the guy was a super nice guy. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better fella, he was a veteran and, older guy, probably my age, and just a super nice guy. But we went out with him, and I think I caught one redfish that maybe weighed 1.5 pounds, and I caught 2 or 3 trout that were probably not even 1 pound. And I think maybe Eddie might have caught about the same. I mean, we might have caught 5 or 6 or 7 fish, and we paid him all that money, and that was it. I mean, and he had a boat. He had a flat bottom bay boat, kind of like the one I used to have, but it was smaller. And we went out to the bay where all the grass is at, kind of like what we're used to fishing in. We were actually in a river fishing with him. He took us in the river, and he said we might run out there to the bay and get on some of the grass and get on some of those fish out there. Well, it was white capping, and he wouldn't go out there. He was afraid to go out there. It was bad. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as what we come in on that 20-foot boat the other night. I can tell you right now, it wasn't that bad. It was not that bad. And we did go out there and see some big sharks, some bull sharks, swimming on the boat. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go back in. So we went back in, and then we just basically donated him that money. But that's the chance you take when you go on a trip. You can't be guaranteed There's nobody out there. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is unless they've got a fence with deer in it. There's nobody that can tell you with 100% certainty that you're going to take an animal on a hunt.
Yeah, or catch a fish or any of that. I mean, it's, most people, I'd say most people that go on those trips realize that. I mean, that it's not a guarantee, but I think sometimes too, you can also tell if whoever's taking you out, the guide or whatever, if he's actually, no matter if the your circumstances might not be right, the weather's not right or whatever, if they're still working hard to try to get you on a deer or on some fish or what they're doing, then that's really all they can do. You just had a bad trip. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole moral of this story is you can look forward to something for a long time, and sometimes it just don't work out, and
That's right.
you got to get over it, or
Yeah.
it's just going to eat you up, and just move on. I mean,
Yeah, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. I mean, hunting and fishing is the same thing. I mean, they don't call it fishing and don't call it hunting for any reason. It would be catching and killing.
Yeah.
If that's all you did when you went. I mean, it don't work out that way. It's just not like that. I mean, I can take somebody and take them hunting with me and say, hey, it's a great place down here. You're going to see tons of deer. There's plenty of bucks in here. You got a really good chance of killing something here. And then the next breath tell them there's no guarantees that you're going to. I can't give you 100% certainty that you're going to see a deer or you're going to see anything, because I've been too many times when it just didn't work out. I mean, it just didn't work out. And that's the same thing with fishing. I mean, I can put you in the boat and say, we drug them in the boat, yesterday or day before yesterday, right here in the same spot. You go right back over there and can't beg a bite. I mean, he saw it last year. Me and him were fishing this one spot last year. We were just dragging them in. I'm talking about, we did it for 3 weeks in a row. And then we went back over there and they were gone. I mean, we fished a tournament and the fish weren't there. We did catch our limit. We were culling, but the big fish that we have been catching were gone because they done picked up and moved. But you can't, there's no guarantees they're there. I mean, I got places I fished for years and I always go back and check them because they hold fish. But for the most part, you can't be guaranteed there's anything there. I mean, it's just a lot of luck. There's a lot of luck involved in it. I know every guide wants to take you out there and make you happy, and they don't. I don't think there's as many out there that are just out there to screw you out of your money.
No,
I think it just happens. It's just an unfortunate thing that happens.
Yeah. So, oh well.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. We did not put the boat in Lake Okeechobee the next day. After that Lake Okeechobee trip,
after I went through what y'all went through, I'd have probably cut my losses and just chilled the rest of the time and played it on the safe side.
From the quotes of the grumpy fisherman, if I would have been out there in my boat and them 5-foot swells would have been coming up, he said I would have been in panic mode. Because I'm telling you right now, man, it was some kind of bad. I mean, I can't even tell you how bad it was. It scared me. He grumpy fisherman was trying to be tough. He said, I didn't really scare me that bad.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure it didn't. That's why you didn't put your boat in there the next day.
I've seen less things scare him.
I have too. Yeah, I guarantee it scared him because it scared me, and I usually get scared in the boat. I mean, I've been running, but I'll tell you right now, it was like, I know you've been on the lake with them wake boats on the lake.
Oh,
it was like they were worse than wake boat waves. And I've hit those and left the water.
That scared me.
Those wake boat waves.
Yes, you just got to stay in the throttle though, and just hope for the best. I mean,
that was like,
you don't want to be sitting still there, wake boat.
Yeah, them wake boats pitch you out. I know.
They will dump you out of the boat.
That reminds me of last year. We were sitting on a flat out there on Altoona catching fish. Man, we were catching spots. Me and 03 shot over here was sitting over there, and I don't think he knew what a wake boat was because he hadn't been out there. But I was sitting there. I saw this wake boat, and it's coming, and it's 150 yards from us. Coming down the lake. And I told him, I said, Daddy, I said, you might want to hold on. I said, there's a wake boat coming by, and I said, it's going to get. Grumpy fisherman said spiders scare him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on here with us. Yeah, I don't know if you got on here long enough to tell you. I've talked about our trip at Okeechobee, and Tell them about our little ride back in after dark. What's going on, JC? Good to see you on here, buddy. Yeah, but we were sitting there fishing, and I told him, I said, there's a wake boat coming. You might want to hold on. Well,
he's sitting there
I
thinking,
didn't even turn back around. I just kept fishing, and I got myself braced and got squared up because I knew what was coming. It was rodeo time, And next thing I know, I look behind me, and he's laying on the deck. He's gonna come slap out of the seat and is laying on the deck of the boat and can't get up. I mean, it's just rolling, I'm like, good God, what are you doing back there? And he's like, that wake boat got me.
He's still trying to figure out what a wake boat is.
He knows what a wake boat is now. I can tell you right now, it was kind of comical. I wish I'd had my camera going because that was what's funny. But yeah, he laid on the deck of that boat for a minute until those things got calmed down where he could get back up in that seat. But yeah, it pitched him right out. You just pretty much got to turn your seat and face the wave. You don't want to have it sideways because you're going out.
Yeah.
Got your seat pointing nose of the boat, you're going out of the boat. You're going
maybe sometimes it's better just to go ahead and lay down on the deck and just get it over with because that's probably where you're going to end up anyway.
Yeah, me and Eddie's hit some pretty bad ones down there in Weed Alley.
Yeah.
I think he hit one day. I wasn't in there with him, but he told me about it. He said it drove his spine up into the back of his head. He said it was pretty bad. I think he left the water. Bryce said, have you ever seen Bigfoot? No, Bryce, I haven't seen Bigfoot.
No,
I got friends that say they have. I don't know. I mean,
I ain't never seen it, but I could have possibly heard him a couple of years ago. We'll save that story for another.
No,
another
go ahead and tell that
podcast.
story right quick.
No, there's too many. There's too many.
No, I think we need to hear that story. I think
there's not enough. I don't think there's enough time. We ain't got but 9 minutes, and there was killing going on for 20.
Let's hear that story. Go ahead, tell us about Bigfoot.
I don't know what it was. I can't confirm it's a Bigfoot. But I can't confirm, but I ain't never heard nothing like it in the woods. I can assure you that. I was deer hunting 2 seasons ago, and I had heard some dogs barking. We had dogs on our trail camera, so I knew that they were in the area, and they were barking, and they were a long ways away. And so I'm sitting there, and I hear them barking. All of a sudden, I hear one start hollering like something's got a hold of them. So I thought them dogs were fighting. Well, then I hear something that sounded like a bear. Or that's the closest thing that I could probably explain to you that it sounded like. It wasn't coyotes. It wasn't another dog. It wasn't any kind of cat. It wasn't a bobcat or anything like that. We're in Western Kentucky. Really not any bears around there that we're aware of. But something killed these dogs over there for probably 25 minutes. This went on, and it's like blood curdling, dogs hollering. You can imagine something killing dogs, and you're hearing it go down. That's what this was doing until the job was done, until there was no more dogs hollering. And I'm sitting there texting back and forth to Dad, telling him, this is crazy. I don't know what's going on there. I said, there's a killing going on. I just don't know what's doing the killing. And Daddy says, oh, maybe they were over there laughing at me is what it was.
Yeah, we were laughing. I guarantee we were laughing.
Yeah, he was laughing. They were over there laughing. And he told me, he says, probably Bigfoot. And that's so ever since then, this stand is now the Sasquatch stand because apparently Bigfoot killed some dogs over there or something did. I don't know what it was, but I can tell you, I ain't seen no dogs back on the trail camera. If you really think about it, I hadn't seen no dogs back on the trail camera, I don't think.
Yeah, I know, right? They're gone now. Tyler Hensley on here said if they were bent trees in the woods, there's Bigfoot activity. He said that's how they communicate. Tyler, you've been watching too much TV, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I got a so-called friend of mine, and I know Grumpy Fisherman knows exactly who I'm talking about. But he wrote a book about Bigfoot, and he actually hunted on our hunting club for a while. I don't know. We had a lease down in Heard County for about, 25, 30 years.
Yeah, 20 years
and,
or so.
I hunted that thing. Man, I hunted down there a lot. But he had written this book, and he'd taken a lot of pictures, and some of the pictures he'd taken were trees that were bent over and bent down, and I know why they were bent down, but anyway, they were bent down, and we'll leave it at that. And he put those in his book. He just got pictures, but he had written in that book that he had heard Bigfoot down there, saw the sign of Bigfoot down there, and I think he had actually seen Bigfoot down there.
Interesting.
But I've got the book here. I have still got the book. He signed the book for me. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I just, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say there ain't no Bigfoot, but I can tell you with pretty much certainty that on that piece of property, there ain't no Bigfoot because I've been in them woods too many times and I ain't never heard nothing that sounded like one, seen any tracks, anything that looked like it. And I don't know where I mean, there ain't enough woods there for him to live in. We only had a 500-acre tract there.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was living in it, but yeah, there's some people that take it very seriously and they're passionate about it. But we gave Brandon hell about it. We were texting back and forth, and I was, you know, I was cracking up. I was trying to be quiet because we were deer hunting. We was in a box. We'd get away with a lot more than he could. But I told him, I said, you know, get down and go down there and see what it is. You got a gun. He told me he wasn't getting down, and I was, you know.
And this was a long ways away. This was
right. They got skinwalkers in Paulding County. Right. You
Hey,
get off that weed, man.
Yeah.
Get off that weed. You've been smoking that devil's lettuce or something.
Yeah, they definitely got something in Paulding County.
I
don't know what it is, but they got something.
They got something up there, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So
yeah, I don't know about that Bigfoot thing, but that was funny.
That was.
We got a good laugh out of it. It was it was comical because we went back and forth, texting back and forth for 30, 40 minutes there. You know, I kept telling him it could be this. No, it ain't that. And I said it could be this. And he's like, no, it ain't that. I've heard that before. That's not what it is.
I'm telling you, I've heard it all.
And that's when I finally said, just get down and go down there and see what it is. He said he wasn't getting down out of that stand. And he finally had to get out of that stand. But I know he didn't waste no time getting out of there.
Yeah, I went the opposite way. Good thing the four-wheeler was the opposite way. I was by myself. He wasn't with me.
Colton had been with you. He never went back.
I know.
After hearing that noise.
Yeah, that was bad.
I think old Grumpy Fisherman one time, we were in Heard County, and I was down there too, and we were sitting 100 yards apart, I guess, and I think it was a bobcat because I've heard them before. You know how they scream.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't remember whether he called me or maybe we talked after we got out of the woods. I don't know if we had any texting back at that time when we did that, but he wanted to know if I heard that noise. I said, yeah, I heard it. He said, oh my God, man, it was awful. You know how bad that sounds anyway. Dead silent in the morning before daylight.
Yeah.
You know,
so like somebody's screaming.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff
behind you. What do you want to know about that turkey behind me? That turkey behind me is dead. That turkey behind me is dead. That actually, I'll tell you a story about turkey. That turkey right there came out of Heard County, and it was the first big gobbler I ever killed. I shot that. I was in a hunting blind, and them turkeys kept skirting me. They kept going around me, and I could hear them gobblers, gobbling. I could hear the hens, and I heard them behind the blind. I'm like, God, dang, they're behind me, and they ain't gonna come down here. So I just unzipped the back window of the blind and peeked out at it, and he was in full strut behind me with about 15 hens, and he left this world. So that's how that worked out. He had pretty good beard on him, and he was I think he had about 1 inch and 1/8 spur. It was like a 2.5-year-old bird, but it was the biggest bird I'd ever shot at that point. But yeah, that's one of them. I've got some more in here. You can't see these. I've got some to my right up here. I killed some bearded birds, and I've got a full mounted bird in the den in full strut that's got double beard that I killed too. But I do like shooting them turkeys.
All in Heard County, right? Were they all in Heard County?
All in Heard County, yeah. Yeah. Back when there was birds in Heard County because it kind of went downhill. I don't know what the coach got them.
Yeah, that place we had, that used to be eat up with turkeys, but the last couple of years we had it didn't seem quite as good.
It was strange. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I miss it, but
yeah,
I miss it because it was close, a lot closer to Kentucky and hunting birds, and they got the same birds we got, but they're bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, them birds eat soybean and wheat and oats and corn and everything down there. They get everything. So
yeah,
they're extra heavy.
Yep.
But, well, it looks like it's about 1 minute to 10. I think we're gonna probably call this thing a night. some of us have to get up and go to work tomorrow, and that wouldn't be 03 shot.
No.
He retired. He do what he wants to.
Cut grass.
He cut
Yeah,
grass.
he'll cut. He'll go find some more grass to cut tomorrow or something.
Cut grass or something. He gets bored. He come over and rake some leaves or something.
Yeah.
When he gets out of bed about 9 o'clock, Mama has him big breakfast fix.
Don't
Spoiled.
knock it. You'll be there one day.
Yeah, I reckon. I don't know if I'll ever be able to retire. I owe too much money.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yep. But anyway, we're gonna call it quits. We appreciate everybody that joined us tonight, and come back and see us next Wednesday night. We'll have some more lies to tell, and we'll tell some funny stories, and I'm sure we'll have some more content. We may have a guest next Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Get a special guest on here, somebody have an engaged conversation with. But I just thought I wanted to touch base with you guys about the Okeechobee trip and let you know what it was and how it worked out for us. We did catch a lot of fish while we were down there. We did get to experience some bad waves on the lake, and then we got to experience a guy that kind of left us hanging in the wind there that first day when we were down there. Just never can be too careful with them. You just don't never know. I mean, you don't never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, and
It happens.
if you're going to play, you're going to play. Sometimes you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just the way it works. But it all worked out in the wash. We got a good guide the next day. Got us back alive. We got to hear him singing the Gilligan Island song, so that was funny. But everybody have a good night. We're going to check out. G4 out.